let us know.
Have your weekend breakfast
with Gugu Mhlungu.
Let's walk the talk.
15 minutes after 6 o'clock, time for us to get into our conversation about your skin and the winter season, because for many of us, certainly if you're on the high veld, it is a very dry season and it can be a very difficult season for your skincare. And so this morning we're joined by Dr Maureen Alleem, founder and medical director of Skin Renewals, to talk about tips on caring for your skin during winter. And if you have a question, you can get in touch with us on 011-883-0702. Dr. Alleem, good morning and welcome to Weekend Breakfast.
Morning, Gugu.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Doctor, in winter, and especially if we have quite a dry winter like we have here, what happens to our skins when the weather gets colder and drier?
Okay, so dry air, so indoors and out, can increase symptoms of dry skin. And every decade, our skin gets 10% drier. So as we're getting older, our skin is getting dry. And the winter months, which characterized by, cold, and then you rush indoors to heated air, and then that has very low humidity. So it presents many skin challenges. Your skin feels and looks drier, and you have very and sensitive skin, which some people have, is more irritable because there's decreased oil production in the skin. And this happens because when you're cold, your body constricts all the superficial vessels to save the heat. And then obviously there's insufficient blood to all the glands that that produce oil, and there's also less blood supply to the skin, which brings in less oxygen and nutrients to the skin. And then you have water loss from the skin, which means the skin lacks the hydration levels to actually keep the immune function going. And this causes your skin barrier, your lipid barrier, to degrade. So now you've got this increased water loss and this impaired barrier. And that's what we find a lot in winter, that our patients have this impaired barrier and their skin becomes like out of control. It's so, it's so itchy and flaky and dry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So what we say is, if you can, add moisture to your home, especially when you've got these heaters raging or these fires raging indoors. And that you can do by a humidifier, but that's not possible, for everyone. Because the humidifier that runs, if you have to know, it runs, produces this moisture which your air can suck into the skin. And then another way to do it is to drink more water. So you're trapping the moisture, from the inside out. So very often people don't drink enough water during the day, which would be about 2 liters a day, and then their skin also can become drier. And then another thing is to keep the moisture in the skin that you have. So we tend to, in winter, have long, hot showers and baths, and that would also decrease your water, because that saps the water content from your body, these long, hot showers and baths. And that's why you should rather have warm water and quick showers, not too long. And when you get out of the shower, pat your skin dry, don't rub it, and then within a minute, put your moisturizer on to trap the water that you have, the moisture that you have in your skin. Okay, and then don't use like the common household soaps can dry your skin out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you have any other questions?
Yes. So you mentioned, Doctor, that for instance the water loss can lead to an impaired lipid barrier during the colder months. What is our lipid barrier and what is its function?
Okay, so it's a bilipid. So you have your stratum corneum, which so it's the top layer of the skin, the scaly layer of the skin, and as you get older, that also decreases.
Mm-hmm.
So that keeps the moisture in the skin, and then you also have your a bilipid layer, which there's water particles in between this bilipid layer, and this protects your skin from the outside elements. Your skin covers your whole body. It's our biggest organ, so that's why we have to protect our skin, which is so important to keep the moisture in and to have proper immune function in this lipid bilayer. So if you've got impaired barrier, you start losing your hydration, your water content from this lipid barrier. And then you're more prone to skin diseases like acne, eczema, dermatitis, and we find that all our patients with skin conditions, like I mentioned, acne, rosacea, melasma, they all have impaired barrier. So the first thing we do is start repairing this lipid bilayer with topical products which contain ceramides and hyaluronic acid. You can also use shea butter, glycerine. All of those products start repairing your lipid bilayer, which is so important. And then we start with treatments if they have acne, to try help them get rid of the inflammation in the skin.
You also mentioned that because it is the cooler months, many of us start taking really, really hot showers. I know I take very hot showers all year round, which I know is not great for my skin, but I enjoy it so much. What happens when you take a very hot shower? What happens to your skin? Or a very hot bath?
So it saps the water out of your skin. It dries the skin out because you like interfering with that, that mantle on top of the skin that's keeping you safe, keeping the barrier safe. And a good tip, especially now in winter, is as soon as you get out, hardly even dry your skin and then put your moisturizer on, because that definitely traps the moisture that you do have, the moisture from the water on the skin. Especially your face, your face and your body. That's such a great tip to do it within a minute or two, to have your cream on, whatever you're going to put on your face and your body, to put that on.
Oh, I didn't know that was the same with the body, because I was told, get out of the shower, not wipe my face, so kind of leave it wet, and then put my toner on as soon as I can, and then put my moisturizer while there's still water on the skin. I didn't know you could do that with your body as well.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And your toners shouldn't contain alcohol, because that also, dries the skin out. So just be careful with toners that you're not toning too much, I don't know what toner you use, but just check that it doesn't contain alcohol, because that can dry the skin out.
Yes, I think mine is a non-alcoholic one. I did use an alcoholic one for many years, and I did find it made my skin a bit tight and just a little bit, it felt just a little bit tight. So I changed to a more like a water-based one.
So patients always ask about toners. So I always tell them toners are for photocopiers. They're not really for your skin. But you can get great toners. Like we have a toner that's got like a probiotic in it, which, balances the mantle of your skin. And it's also very important to keep the pH balance of your skin at, 5.5. So that's what I use. I use a toner that's got a probiotic in. I think it's a probiotic that balances your skin and, helps the barrier.
Is it advisable to change, for instance, parts of your routine in the cooler months if you are able to? So, for instance, if you use quite is it advisable if you use a particular soap maybe in the warmer months to use something a little bit more moisturizing in the winter months?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so that comes on to skincare, huh? So change your cleanser for a more creamy cleanser and a more hydrating cleanser. So not though, like some people love those foaming glycolic or salicylic acid cleansers. So swap it for a more creamy cleanser. And you can also get, out there in the department stores, you get cleansers that you can use on your face that are creamy, that aren't so heavily priced. And then use a mild exfoliator like twice a week, and preferably an enzyme exfoliator. Because then you fluff those, the dry skin on top away, so that your moisture can penetrate better. That's why we do peels for patients, but not, but we first make sure that we repair the lipid barrier. Because if you've got that dry, scaly skin on top, the penetration of your products aren't so great. So that's what helps with that. What else? And then, so tone and moisturize, like we said, within 30 seconds of cleaning your skin. That makes a big difference. Use things like ceramide. Switch to oil-based moisturizers with lipids and ceramides in winter. So the other ones are hyaluronic acid, glycerine, shea butter. You can also use castor oil, lavender, avocado, coconut oil, but that's only for skin that does not have, that doesn't suffer from acne. And if you suffer from acne, don't use those lavender, coconut oil. Because that's not such a great choice.
And if you already have an oily skin, can you use oils on an oily skin?
You're like, no, use lotions rather.
Okay.
Because you are producing a lot of oil, sebum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so use a lotion.
Okay.
And we give lotions with like polyhydroxy acids in, which are amazing to moisturize the skin and powerful antioxidant that protects the skin and then also restores your barrier. Polyhydroxy acid.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great lotion that we have.
And then do you still need sunscreen in the winter months?
That's exactly what's on our list here. Don't forget, of course, because people don't realize that even though you think the sun is less, you're still getting the sun rays.
Mm-hmm.
So the sun rays are still reflecting in your skin. And then, people also don't think that because they're spending time indoors in front of computer screens and that they're not out in the sun. But there's a whole new concept of high energy visible light. So any light with heat, like a computer screen, bulbs, heaters, is infrared, and infrared A also damage the skin. So just keep your sunblock on, your SPF, throughout the day, even though you think you're not going outdoors, because you are getting it from your laptop and your cell phones and heaters.
Do things like humidifiers assist with, so especially now for us in Johannesburg, it's quite dry. Does something like a humidifier assist with, kind of dryness, adding more moisture to the air?
Yes, absolutely. Especially if you've got the heaters going and the air conditioning going. That's first choice. You put a humidifier in your home and humidify because the skin saps up that moisture, that humidity from the humidifier. That would be first choice. But it's not always possible, in some homes to run a humidifier all day.
Earlier on, Doctor, you were mentioning that in some instances, a skin peel might be helpful to kind of help the skin absorb, products better, to kind of reveal kind of the newer skin. How often, if you're someone, for instance, who doesn't get peels but exfoliates, how often should we be exfoliating? Because often there are products that are sort of like a 3-in-1. It's a moisturizer, a mask, an exfoliator. So technically you're exfoliating every day. Should you be doing that?
No, twice a week with, like a particular exfoliant. So if it's an exfoliant twice a week, if you've got acne, you should do it less, once a week, because you don't want to irritate the skin. But like enzyme-based exfoliants are okay. That's not so harsh on the skin.
But if it's a more...
Scrubs and that. Scrubs, ones with the scrubs and that, maybe 2-3 times a week max.
Mm-hmm. And how do you know if it's an enzyme-based one? Would it say on the packaging? Or are there particular words you should look for?
Yeah, I think the other ones are microcrystals. You can see when it's got that scrub texture. I think it says microcrystals.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at enzyme-based scrubs, yeah.
Okay. So those you can use twice a week?
Yeah.
Okay. What happens when we exfoliate every day?
You're just stripping that barrier. You're taking too much of that top layer off daily,
Mm-hmm.
Because your skin's got a whole process where the bottom cells move to the top, and you don't want to disrupt that barrier, if you exfoliate today, especially if you've got sensitive skin. If you've never had a problem, that's okay, you can carry on. But if you've got sensitive skin, and we find that most skin conditions that we have sensitive skin.
Mm-hmm.
So things like hormonal pigmentation and acne and rosacea and dermatitis, they all have sensitive skin because they've got impaired barrier.
Mm-hmm.
So repairing the barrier, as I said, is a big part of our, prep treatment before we do more chemical pills and more aggressive treatment.
Doctor,
we have to repair the barrier. It's a big part of our clinic,
Yeah.
of what we do.
Oh. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.